Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to be with you all. A quick announcement, April 6th, I'll be having a day-long retreat. I'd love it if you could join us for that. Yes, beautiful. Okay, so why don't we start by closing our eyes, just dropping into the space of the heart. Giving yourself permission to relax greatly, to let go fully. Feeling the rise and the fall of your belly. Connecting with quietude, the silence of your nature. Feeling the gentle warmth, the aliveness of the space of the heart. And arriving here fully. So I invite you to put everything down, put everything away, any thoughts, any struggles, any planning. And simply be one-pointed. In the here and now. And with your eyes closed, just feeling into the body, your experience. And I'll just start with an inquiry question. Are you honest? Are you honest with yourself? Can you be honest about this moment? So to be awake here on planet Earth, we must be connected to the truth. The truth of what we are and knowing what we are not. And sometimes in this world we believe too much in the stories of our mind, too much in our egoic nature and personality, too much belief in desire. Or too much belief in aversion. And so if you're honest right now in this moment, can you see what's here? What's here that's real? And what's here that's imaginary or unreal? And so if we just look, say, for example, at the feeling state of our body right now. Is our body deeply relaxed and resting? And the truth of this moment or is our body fighting with something that's not here? Maybe we're fighting with something that happened at 8 a.m. this morning or yesterday morning or a week ago, a year ago. Sometimes we fight with something that happened a decade ago, which is amazing. Amazing when we fight for so long with something that's not even here. And so can you be honest about the peace, the silence, the spaciousness, and the radiance? So again, sometimes we're honest about tension or anger. But what we're really doing is we're really aligning with tension and anger. We're actually being dishonest because tension and anger are not our true states. So can we be honest, for example, about, oh, what is it that we want in this life? What do you want in this life? Do you want the truth? Or do you want a dream? Some people want the truth of awakening. Some people want the dream of enlightenment. Like enlightenment means a long vacation where I'm always comfortable. Sometimes we have to be truthful enough to admit that life is hard. In order to first realize the truth, we have to admit the truth. That life is hard and I've been running from the difficulty of it. I've been avoiding it. I've been living in the future or in the past. And so I ask you, can you be honest about who you are fundamentally and what you want? Not what your ego wants, but what you actually want. What do you actually want? We could be honest and say our ego wants a red car or a certain job or a particular graduate school. Or I want this one person to be with me and hold me and make me feel safe. But when we say that out loud, we begin to realize that our egoic desires won't ever satisfy, won't ever actually make us happy. And so it's a great investigation on the path is what are you willing to see and What do you continually try to avoid? What do you continually try to avoid? So what is your greater truth? Your greater truth. And what are the lesser truths that you hold on to and continually try to realize, but deep down inside, you know, that's not really the thing that I actually want. That's just the thing I'm using to avoid my life. Some people just live their whole life in the future, planning out their future to avoid the pain they're feeling in this moment. But if we're willing to be honest about our pain, pain starts to move, it starts to lift, and we open into a wider view, the freedom of space, of healing. So can you tell the truth fully? Fully? Or are you going to continue to try to lie to yourselves and others? That's what most humans do, is they just lie to themselves. It's a silly thing, you know, to lie to oneself. It's a really bizarre thing, actually, when you think about it. So, fun question. What lies do you tell your own self? What lies do you tell your own self? And are you willing to stop lying to yourself? Are you willing to see the truth, to be the truth, to live the truth? Are you willing to see the truth, be the truth, live the truth? So one of the prerequisites to enlightenment is you have to be a person of the truth, a man of truth, a woman of the truth, an individual of the truth. You have to be aligned with that which is real. And you have to be unaligned with that which is unreal. And so anyways, I welcome questions. I'm just going to remind everyone, like I do every week, I ask that they're short, clear, and direct. A couple of people emailed me questions. Let's see. I'm going to pull one of these up. This is a fun question here. Hi, Craig. Have you ever heard of one getting emotionally attached to a spiritual teacher? Yeah. Kind of like a little child needing love type of attachment. I find it makes it hard to accept her teachings. I guess the person asking the question is attached to a woman teacher. I find it makes it hard to accept her teachings from a place of equanimity. Do you have any suggestions? I've found it best to love deeply that little boy, that's him, his own inner child, or sending love to her directly can help. Yeah, I can say this. So basically what this person is asking about is projection. And so projection is one of the ways that we lie in this world. Most of the time when we think about lying or not being honest, we think about like swindling someone or taking advantage of someone. But the greatest way that most people lie is through projection. Like we just do this just absolutely unconsciously, maybe a little bit consciously. And so, I was with my mother today, where I'm traveling with her in the South here in the U.S. I mean, where am I at? I get confused where I am. I've traveled so much. I'm in South Carolina. I'm on Hilton Head Island right now, and we were looking at some houses, and we were talking about our realtor who's helping us find houses. And the realtor was just doing something. She was acting in a certain way. Let's say on Friday she was acting a certain way, and then today, Sunday, she was acting differently. And I said, oh, she's acting differently because she had a day off work and she's more relaxed. And my mom said, oh no, she's acting differently today because she realized that we're serious about buying a house. And I was just noticing. I was like, oh, I was projecting how I act onto this woman when I'm more relaxed. Like basically she was more sharp today, the realtor. She was more like with it, on top of her game. And I thought, oh, she had a day off, so she was more relaxed, and so her mind was more sharp. And my mother was thinking she was more sharp because the woman realized we were going to buy a house and she was excited about selling one. But again, this is just, my mother thinks one way, I think a different way. I think that, if people are more relaxed, their minds are sharper. My mom was thinking, well, they're more relaxed if that they're more sharp and ready to sell something if they think the client has money and is serious. So my mom was thinking the person was motivated by money. And so it's a silly story, but it just shows like I was projecting one way and my mother projecting a different way. And so we all project. It's not a terrible thing. It can lead you into trouble if you project in a big way. So the bigger we project, like my projection was harmless that I was putting on the realtor. But if I'm wounded inside and I need my spiritual teacher to be a fatherly figure or a motherly figure, I'm going to get myself in trouble. So if I'm wounded, like say, for example, if the teacher is wounded and I need you all to shower me with affection all the time to make me feel safe, that's going to get messy very quickly. And so when we have primal wounds around parenting, we project that wound on the world, onto the world. And what basically this person is saying is, I need the teacher to be a certain way. And I need them to be like a parent. I'm emotionally attached to them. And again, like this will just lead to trouble. Now, there's one thing to, if you deeply respect your teacher, like that's a good thing. A good thing. But if you need them to be a certain way, because there's something going on in you, an unmet need, and you need them to show up as a parent. Like people do this with lovers, they do this with teachers, they do this with, some people do it with their children, like in a reverse type of way where the parent wants the child to be the parent. And that of course, is a disaster. So yeah, this person, in a sense, they answered their own question. I found it best to love my own little boy. Yeah, so that's how you heal this. So if you ever find yourself really wanting and needing the people around you to be a certain way, basically you're asking the other person to do your work for you. And, I'll put it bluntly, a Buddha does not ask someone else to do his work, doesn't ask someone else to do her work. If we're going to be in Christ consciousness, Christ isn't asking you to do his work, his own psychological healing work. He's going to ask that of himself. A goddess is a goddess because she's done her work, because she knows who she is and what her life is about. A goddess does not project onto the world. She actually becomes a mirror to the world. A mirror of their own divinity. Let me see if there's anything else in this question. A lot of people who end up getting in inappropriate relationships with their teachers, it's almost always for this reason. They want the teacher to be a parent and to save them. And I'll say this, this might make you fire me as a teacher, but like I can't save you. I can't save you. You save you. I can point at something great and I can reflect something divine within you, but I can't do your work for you. And any healer, teacher, whoever who says they'll do it for you, again, that's trouble. Some teachers even do this thing where they say, look into my eyes and I'll do Shaktipat. And it may awaken something in you. You think, oh, they did it for me. They did it to me. But anything a teacher offers you in Shaktipat, you have to eventually earn and or grow into for that thing to stabilize. For that thing to stabilize. And, the other thing that people do in modern spiritualities, a lot of people try to do like psychedelics to blast themselves awake. And again, like this, it doesn't work. It'll work temporarily, but you have to earn it. You have to earn it if you want it to be realized. Okay, let's hear from Kirsten. Kirsten, are you here?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. So good to see you.
Yes, good to be here. So thank you for the question about being truthful. When I checked in, I had that kind of like, I often experience it as somatoaffective kind of energy, kind of emotional energy whenever I check in. And there's this spaciousness. But when I try to work with that energy, I try to be mindful of not pushing it out. not trying to push it out, but allow it.
Mhm.
And what I find is I just feel like, in a way, though, there's something that's also subtly getting reinforced when I'm with it. And I'm not sure, sort of like I'm kind of somehow Velcroed to the experiencing emotional energy.
Okay, so yeah, let's just start with the basics here. What is the actual feeling? You used some big words for the feeling. What is the actual
Well,
feelings?
let's say guilt came up today.
Oh, okay, good. So guilt came forward,
Mm-hmm.
and guilt's an interesting one. So if we just sit with guilt, guilt, the way I experience guilt, or the way I've experienced it in the past, is guilt has often showed up in my life is it's like a heavy, almost like dead, numb blanket, just
Mm-hmm.
like a weight. So that's how it shows up for me. And if I just sat and witnessed guilt, um, that guilt would not go anywhere. It would just stay. And in fact, one of the beautiful intelligences, the intelligence of guilt, is guilt will take an emotion and will freeze it. And so guilt, it freezes something, and that thing's just not going to move. And so like hardwired into guilt is this energy that can freeze a thought, a feeling, and we could have that guilt for 30 years.
Yeah.
So awareness isn't going to do it with guilt. With guilt, we have to be willing to be active with it. So it's going to require a different type of energy than allowing.
Okay.
So with guilt, we have to look, we have to lift that blanket up and see, what's under this blanket here? Like, what's under the blanket? And so if I asked you that, like, what's under the blanket of guilt? What do you see there? What do you feel there?
Well, it was a situation where I was trying to accompany my mom at the mall, and I had accompanied her yesterday as well, but I had to also take care of my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got short and kind of was like, okay, now I need to shift. And I think she got hurt, but she understood I had to go, but that my irritability. So there was irritability out of this kind of feeling of feeling overextended, and an anger, I guess, underneath, an anger of feeling overextended.
Okay, good. So we have a couple of things. So we have anger, we have irritability, and
Mhm.
then did you say, did you feel bad that you weren't able
Yeah,
to take care of your mother?
I felt bad. I understood that I kind of had to at one point choose one, and in this case, I had to choose my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was my shortness and my irritability, just how I went about it, the anger,
Okay.
my
Oh,
impatience with my mom.
okay. And so probably some judgment there. So that's a lot of feelings. And so if we just step back from a place of truth, and we just ask a basic question. Can you take care of your mother and your children at the same time?
I was trying to for a while, and it was just, and I was,
Just let me ask you a basic question. So can you take care of everyone at the same time?
I can for a short period of time.
Okay, you can for a short period of time, but like, say, big picture, can you make everyone happy in this world?
No,
No,
no.
no.
And I
Okay,
was already maxed out.
okay. So here's where we're being honest and we're stepping into the truth.
Hmm.
The truth is, I cannot make my mother happy in this moment, and my kids happy, and myself.
Hmm.
The truth is, I'm a limited human being. And see, here's where we get ourselves in trouble is because we argue with reality through trying to keep everyone happy. And this is something that mothers in particular do. Sometimes it's something that fathers do. Like I've done this before. I try to keep the wife happy, my child happy, my adult child happy, and my mom happy. And it's like, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail at this. And so coming into the truth is sometimes realizing I can't do life in this perfect way. I can't make everyone happy. And so I have to give up this expectation or this belief that I can be everything for everyone. I have to let go of that. And I have to trust that it's God's job to take care of everyone. It's God's job to take care of my children, my mother, the dog, the mortgage, the whatever, my father. It's God's job. And this is something that when I say this to a parent, they look at me like I am absolutely crazy. They're like, no, Craig, this is my job. It's my job to be the good little girl to mom, to be the perfect mom for my children, to be the perfect breadwinner as the single parent and all this. And again, it's just, you cannot do that. And your body is trying to communicate that to you. And the way your body will communicate that to you is through stress and through irritability. Like your body's telling you, like, I can't make all these people happy. So when you come into the truth, you just realize, I can't keep everyone happy. So when you're in the truth, there's no guilt. There's just a sense of, okay, I'm going to make a decision. And as a mother, you're going to take care of your kids first. And then take care of mom second. And so to live in this way, we have to get comfortable with disappointing others. But at the same time, we're really getting comfortable with the truth. Like the truth is, it's not my job to keep mom happy. It's not my job to keep my kids happy. It's my job as a mother just to do my best in this moment. But I need to take care of myself first, my children second, and mom, maybe. And what you find is when you give up this idea that you can serve everybody, there's a really real funny thing that happens. Like when you give up pleasing and trying to be everything for everybody, what happens is because you're no longer feeling guilty and you're no longer fighting and worrying and stressing and feeling spread out. So when you step out of the truth, you feel spread out. But when you step into the truth, there's a real miraculous thing that happens is you become radically energized. And in a funny way, you're able to serve the people around you in a much greater capacity. But please do not hear me that you'll be able to please everyone.
Oh, I get it.
Pleasing everyone is much different than serving everyone. And what you'll find is when you live in truth, you'll serve more. You won't be playing the pleasing game and there'll be no guilt. But in order to make this transition, again, it's a paradox. You have to be incredibly comfortable disappointing people. You have to be just incredibly comfortable, just knowing like, can't make mom happy. Like I can't I can't give her what she needs in every moment. That's God's job. I can't please dad in every moment. That's God's job. Can't please my children in every moment. That's God's job. Can't please myself in every moment. That's God's job. And the way God does it, the way God pleases us in every moment, is not through satisfying all of our desires. That's, again, like this is like that egoic thinking that, oh, it's God's job to satisfy all my desires. But if you look at what God is giving us all, as God is giving us space and peace and light. And so the question is when you're with your mother, can you see and can you experience directly the space and the peace and light that is here right now? And can you see it in yourself? Can you see it in the environment? And then let's have some fun here. Can you see it in her? And when you see that your mother is made of space and peace and light, and she gets a little aggravated or she projects on you that you should be pleasing her or something, you see that that's an illusion. Like the thing she's projecting on to you.
Mm-hmm.
But what you see that's not an illusion is that your mom is perfect. Like she's this divine being, full of light and radiance, even though she's projecting on you. And you're projecting on her. I need to be perfect. Then you're attacking yourself, saying you need to feel guilty. But when you come into the truth, you see your mom is perfect in her essence all the time. And you are perfect in your essence all the time.
It's interesting. I notice my mom, I can access my mom is perfect. It's hard for me to access I am in that moment.
Yeah, good. So see, here's another place where we're not being fully honest about what you are. I mean, you're being honest right now that your ego's deficient, is feeling deficient. And so that's here, but we're having a hard time being honest about you, about how beautiful you are, about how radiant you are, and how free you are. And so if we just feel into like the part of you that's deficient, because that's what's creating the veil here. So what's the primary deficiency here?
The anger and the irritability, the two parts, the being maxed out has an ineffectiveness kind of schema to it. And
okay, let's do one at a time. So you feel ineffective?
All the time, yeah.
Good. Okay, good. So I want all of us in the Sangha just to admit this. My human personality and egoic nature is ineffective at living life perfectly and efficiently and successfully. Like I'll just put it bluntly, like my egoic nature is like a fuck up. Just like it just doesn't do it right, doesn't do it perfectly. And all of us here in the Sangha, we can admit this, like our egoic nature fails at life. Like let's all admit that. Like my egoic nature fails at life. And if we say that and smile, it's a great relief. But if we say that while we hold on to a judgment that I should be perfect, you're really going to suffer. So in order to be free, we have to drop this belief that your ego should be better than it is. And so that there's somewhere in here is a very arrogant thought, by the way, but don't use that to judge yourself. But our egos have this arrogance thing, like, I should be a lot better than how I am. It's like, good luck. Like, I should be a lot better. Like, this ego, like, this is the ego God gave you. This is the conditioning that God gave you. The ego is basically a vehicle. It's like, this is the vehicle you got. Like, when you turn 16, what kind of car did your parents buy you? Did they buy you a brand new Mercedes? Or did you get something else? Maybe you got nothing. I mean, my first car was a 1973 VW Super Beetle. And, when I was learning how to drive it, when I was, 15 and a half or whatever it was, I put in a VW, you have to push down to put it in reverse. You push down, you push it to the side and pull it back. And I put it in reverse and fourth gear at the same time. And so my first car didn't have a transmission. So I didn't go anywhere when I was 16. I called my friends and they came and picked me up is what happened. And so we're given these vehicles that are less than perfect. And so we can come into the truth and just acknowledge, like, this body mind machine is going to do life at, I don't know, like 75%. It's not going to do life at 100%. It's going to do it, somewhere. Our body, mind, egoic nature will do life somewhere between 50% and 85%. Like, if we're who's the Apple guy, like Tim Cook, he's at doing 85% or something. He's real successful and CEO and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure that guy fails as a father and as a partner, as a lover, as a son, as a friend. And this is part of what being honest is about, is just admitting, like, yeah, like, I'm a failure. I talked to my teenage daughter. I guess she's not a teenager anymore. My oldest daughter the other day, and she views me, she's going to be 21 in a month, as a complete and utter failure. Like, she's trying to stop communicating to me because she thinks I'm such a failure. My wife and daughter, they're in Colorado right now. I'm on the other side of the country as them. Like, I'm failing them because I'm not with them, taking care of them. I'll be back next week, but but it's just, we can't make everyone happy. And so we can take a deep breath and just begin to accept that this ego cannot take care of everyone. I mean, most of us, we do a terrible job of taking care of ourselves. So it's like, how can I take care of, and you have twins. I met someone the other day with triplets. I was like, how do you take care of them? How do you take care of all those kids at once? How do you do that? You don't. You do your best is what you do. And so the question is can you do your best without judgment? So when you do your best without judgment, then we're in a space of freedom. And so the way my teacher taught me this, he said, Craig, you show up, you do your best, and you let go of the results. You show up, you do your best, and you let go of the results. God's in charge. God's in charge of your mother, your father, and your children. And you're just playing make-believe mom. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's just like I make believe that I'm the father to my children, and really God's their father, God's their mother. And I'm just this character showing up, trying to do my best. And so here's this part of your body, you said you're having a somatic response. And the beautiful thing about the soma, the body, is when you're in alignment with the truth, you'll feel little to no pain. And I mean emotional pain. When you're out of alignment with truth, you'll feel stress and pain. And so if we all just use this as a gauge, like if I'm in pain, psychologically, it means we're out of alignment with truth. So we're either believing something that's not true, we're fighting with reality, we're trying to be greater than what we are. Let me see if I can say that differently, greater than what we are. Because what we are in our truth, in our true nature, is something quite great. But when we're in our egoic nature, and we're trying to be bigger than our britches, and by that I mean we're trying to be God and take care of everyone at once, we should feel like garbage. So I want to really emphasize that. When I try to be something I'm not, or when I try to do something I cannot do, like please everyone, I should feel like garbage. I should feel stressed, and I should feel spread out. And keep in mind, I know that feeling intimately. I used to live that way, just being spread out all the time through trying to make everyone in my life happy. And that's a hell realm, because you're just out of alignment with truth. And the good news, though, at least for me, was that it was actually through my failure at keeping everyone happy. Like that was actually the doorway that I woke up. Was when I realized I can't control everyone around me. I can't keep them happy. I can't keep this family together. I can't please all these people. I can't do it. So it was through the willingness to fall on my knees and fail and admit, I can't do this perfectly, this life, this family life. That was actually the doorway through which I woke up. So that's really good news. Like look, if you give yourself fully permission to fail at this situation, it's an opportunity to wake up. I mean, it was actually something really similar, like this exact thing of, it was guilt. I was struggling with guilt. And I realized that, the guilt was right. Like, I can't do this. I can't. And it was just coming to the recognition, like, I can't. My egoic nature cannot do life perfectly. I can't keep the family together and the business afloat, my finances in order, and I can't keep my ex-wife happy. I can't make her kind to me and kind to the children. I can't control her. I can't control my kids. I can't control anything. That's what it came down to. And through utterly failing at life, I woke up because I admitted defeat. Most people think through utterly succeeding at life, then I become enlightened. And that's not how it works. Like really, really successful people don't wake up. Really successful people, they get rich and keep chasing more and more money and more status and more fame and more glory. And, it's, they have a really good dream. And so like they don't wake up. They just have really fun, wild, busy lives, with lots of stuff. I'm in an area actually with really, really successful people. But they're not awake. They might play a lot of golf, though. I personally don't like golf, but I like the space in which a golf course arises. This is as close to golf as I get. So anyways, so what are you feeling right now as I'm saying all this?
I'm just noticing there's definitely a decrease in the pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm just noticing the part of me that is reluctant to let go of the expectation, and the other part that is kind of more humble and chuckling about the reality. So
Yeah.
both parts there. And
Yeah.
just
And so that's it. So you have the choice. Are you going to walk through the doorway of humility, or are you going to continue to try to hold on to keeping everyone happy?
Yeah, I definitely am less interested in that one.
Yeah.
Just still noticing a bit of stickiness with that one, but
Yeah. Is there a reason why it sticks?
I think it's just a central core schema of kind of unrelenting self-imposed standards that is hard for me to let go of, but
So what do those standards do for you?
I think they hold the promise of an exceptionalness, in some aspects. Like, I think that there is kind of like the perfectionistic ideal of how things could be done if I just work a little bit harder.
If you just work a little bit harder, then you can be perfect. And if you were perfect, what do you think you would get?
I think that there's a belief that peace will follow.
Yeah. Peace will follow if I'm perfect. And we all, everyone in the Sangha must know this one by now. If I'm perfect, that's like if I'm successful, if I'm perfect, then peace will follow. And this is the ego's wheel of samsara. Like that's it. That's the primary illusion. The truth is right around the corner in the future. If I behave, if I make enough money, if I do what's required, if I get the right partner, if I get the perfect house, if I meditate more, then the peace will come. And the way every great sage who's ever lived teaches is peace is here now. It's here now. Not after I perform, but peace is here in my failure.
Yeah. And
Peace
there's
is here in my failure. Yeah.
It comes from both a surrender that I don't need to handle everything. And it was also very peaceful to give up the arrogant thought.
Yeah.
So I think it really is just, I think right now, sitting a little bit longer with the attachment to the perfectionism, but I think that I've seen through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, sometimes just letting that attachment of the perfectionism wear itself out. It's like realizing, okay, how long have I tried to be perfect for? It's like, ooh, like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's like, okay, did I ever pull it off? Nope. It did not pull that off after 30 years of trying to be perfect. Yeah. Yeah, my daughter, she has that one, my oldest daughter. She's trying to be perfect. And fortunately for me, I never really had to try to be perfect when I just knew. I knew I was too honest. I knew I was not perfect, you know, the egoic nature. Now, again, paradoxically, when you let go of this, you know, trying to be perfect, and you step into what you actually are, you begin to see, oh, but my essence is perfect. My essence is beautiful and it's radiant and there's freedom here. I don't have to try to be humanly perfect. That never works. But perfection is here in this presence that I am, this essence.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I encourage you to play with it. And, you know, it'll sound brutal, but give yourself permission to fail at being perfect. Like, give yourself permission to screw up and realize that you're absolutely lovable, adorable, divine in your imperfection. And this is where the ego really trips up and says, oh, if I let myself fail, then I'll just sit on the couch and be a couch potato. And again, I'll remind you that, you know, the more you let go of perfection, the more efficiently you actually live life. It's a funny thing that happens. The more you let go of becoming perfect or trying to be perfect, the more the truth will move through you. And it'll actually be a lot closer to manifest perfection than you were when you were trying to be perfect. When you try to be perfect, we put just undue stress on our nervous system, and then we get anxious and we get irritable and we get stressed, and we actually make a lot of mistakes. But when you allow yourself to relax and step deeply into truth, you're more likely to live more perfectly. It's not the right word, but more efficiently, succinctly, in alignment. Things start to fall into place more quickly and smoothly. But it requires trust. With the ego, it doesn't trust. It tries to make itself into something it's not. But true nature trusts that what I am is good, and that this world is what I am. And so I'm living in alignment with what I already am. So anyway, so nice to be with you today. Yeah. Good to see you, Kirsten. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Another email question. I just want to make sure I get to that so I don't forget. Hi, Craig. It's a really long question. I'll see if I can make it real clear here. I was hoping you could talk on the subject of two things being true at once. I am someone with a TBI, that's a traumatic brain injury, and I've meditated on it a lot. Worrying about my TBI symptoms were making me think that I'm further along on the spiritual path than I am. It's a really interesting thing. So someone with a brain injury, I actually have a TBI, by the way. I might have a couple of them. And so this person thinks they're further on the spiritual path than they actually am. And they're realizing that they can't perceive properly. The answer comes up as that a TBI isn't any different than awakening, that it comes from nothing and really isn't anything at all, while also being aware that it is something and I need to keep doing the work to improve my life and my health. It can be odd experiencing both of these at once. Even asking this question is funny because I know it's all fine and I really don't need to ask, but part of me wants to anyway and feels like it should be done. Both are true. Okay, I'll just say this. Look, when anyone has a real health issue, you should do anything and everything to heal. Like if your car has a flat tire, you're gonna have a hard time going anywhere. And you know, this is your body, this is your brain, this is your mind. And so you want to take care of it if we're speaking about a TBI. So if anyone on the spiritual path ever has a physical health issue, I encourage you to treat it with whatever it needs to be treated with. Now, sometimes, you know, something like a TBI needs to be treated with medication or herbs. More often, a TBI needs to be treated with rest and with something like cranial sacral therapy and massage. Maybe healing herbs or mushrooms like lion's mane and these types of things. So basically the question is about honoring the relative realm and the absolute realm. We want to honor both. Both. But there was something in the question that threw me a little bit of a curveball, that having a TBI isn't any different than awakening. It all comes from nothing and really isn't anything at all. That's true, but you want to be careful with that. So we want to make sure we don't spiritually bypass. You know, if we have an illness or a sickness, if we have a broken leg or something, you want to take care of your body. It's very hard to be awake if the body is fundamentally broken. You can be awake with cancer, but if you just sit back and just watch the cancer eat your body, well, you might not be awake much longer in this world. You know, you want to make sure you take care of the organism here. We don't want to spiritually bypass. Let me see if there's anything else here. One thing that I'll say is that oftentimes, you know, especially non-dual people think of being awake simply in terms of spaciousness and peace and freedom. But we don't want to forget love. And so if you have a body here that's struggling, there's something here that needs love. And can you meet this body with love, with kindness, with compassion? Okay. All right. A couple more questions here, but it looks like it's getting late. So let's just going to remind people the questions are short, clear, and direct. Let's hear from Catherine. Catherine, are you here?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for the teaching tonight. It was really helpful for me, especially the conversation with Kristen. I really felt my body relax when I was just able to admit, yes, I am a failure, because I feel like I've used success to run away from a lot of stuff, and it's worked for a pretty long time. I'm like externally pretty successful, but as we were talking about like, well, what's under that? Like I felt a whole bunch of fear, and I think it comes back to something you've invited me into, which is like feeling like I'm welcome in places, and I guess I just don't even know where to begin to sit with that. Like that, when you talk about that, I've been coming back to it, and it's like I feel unwelcome everywhere. Like that's so deep for me. And I guess just, So if you could just speak to that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. So, so you said that you notice that you used success or chasing success to avoid fear.
Mhm.
So if you just stopped and looked at the fear and asked, well, what's the fear about?
I think, or I feel being discarded or like set aside, left aside, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so there's something here that's wanting to be embraced, wanting to be included, wanting to be welcomed. And so can we do that? Can we do that more fully? Can you welcome all the abandoned, discarded, cast out parts of yourself? Can you just stop and include them and love them? And often when we first do that, we'll find like a lot of tears come and sadness, because it's like, oh my gosh, these parts of ourselves that we just avoided for so long. And again, that they're coming forward into the light as you're waking up, saying, will you hold me? Will you love me? Will you see me? Will you let me scream for a little bit? Like, will you let me scream and cry and scream and fall apart? And will you love me? And if you do love them, and you love them fully, like while they're screaming and falling apart, what will happen is those parts of us will just turn into energy, and they'll actually become freed up. And as they're freed up, when you feel into them again, they'll feel just like prana flowing in your body, like in the form of like a very subtle ananda-like excitement, instead of being like fearful. So the funny thing is, when you face fear directly, especially when you find a bunch of abandoned, cast out parts of yourself, and you embrace them, and they have a good cry, afterwards they feel really alive and full and included. And then they become a part of your life force, your life energy. And so I encourage you just to continue opening to that. So you loving you, you accepting you, you being with you. And to really watch the tendency to run into the future. Yeah. And can you just be here now with the beauty and the radiance, the aliveness of what you are? Of what you are. Yeah. Well, wonderful. So nice to have you, Catherine.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Of course, of course. Yeah, so welcome here. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Let's hear from Melanie. Again, Melanie, I'll just remind you, short, clear, direct question, please, and thank you. Are you here, Melanie?
Hello.
Yeah, there you are.
Hi. So my question is around, it catches up with the question of last Sunday. It's a topic that I come back to again and again and again and again. Because as you said, like the past years, I just completely failed and I didn't know how the hell landed at the place where I landed. And I came back again and again and again to the topic of individuation and differentiation. So I've had an issue for a long time in my life based on a deep belief of I am not okay as I am, and like literally abandoning myself and losing myself everywhere. I can relate to the wanting to please everyone and projecting a lot of stuff. So my question is around I get the sense that in my life, it's very much about I avoid. The question is, what am I actually avoiding? So it feels like I'm avoiding to go out into life and really step into life.
Why?
And I mean, I could answer it at the deepest level. It's always like a fear around death, but on more relative levels, it's, I think I often take on too much and overwhelm myself and don't take care of.
Melanie, let me stop you for a second. So the first thing I heard, just intuitively, as soon as you came on, is I just heard that you need boundaries.
Yes.
And so I don't even know why I heard that, but you're saying yes. And so that was just a sense that you need to learn about boundaries. And boundaries is a very funny topic to speak about spiritually, because spiritually, we're always talking about letting go and not having boundaries, just being boundless. But sometimes when we come into this world and, our parents or our conditioning, our environment didn't teach us about boundaries. And if that was the case, then we have a very hard time, like you said, trusting reality or going out into the world. And so, again, like if we just go with what I was getting intuitively, you need to learn how to have clear boundaries. And that can be a very compassionate thing for you. It may be the most compassionate thing for you is for you to learn how to set and maintain boundaries. And this is one of the, it goes along with that question that you have about individuation. In order to individuate properly, we want to have good, clear boundaries, like in a relative way, just relative boundaries. Like this is where I am, that's where the next person begins. There's boundaries around, we'll be blunt here, around money, around relationship, around, like my body, the other person's body, my space, their space. We want to have boundaries in this world. And if we don't have mastery over this, it'll create so much confusion that our mind will be overwhelmed and we'll experience great fear. And that's good, because that's telling you, like the fear is telling you, I need to figure out just basic human boundaries in order to help myself feel safe.
Yeah.
When the body and the mind and the emotional nature feel safe because of good, clear boundaries, there's a funny thing that happens. Again, this is one of those paradoxes, is when the body, mind, and feels safe, like psychologically safe, then it's very easy to let go and surrender in a healthy way. But until I figure out boundaries, I can't really let go in a way that I can trust. But I'll say something, paradoxical here. I hope this isn't confusing, but when people don't have boundaries, they're very good at letting go, but in a way where they don't feel safe. And we spoke about this last time, is people who don't have clear boundaries and don't have a clear sense of self, they can very easily let go and experience big things. But because they don't feel safe, they don't stay open. They let go, and then they feel terrified, then they close down. And so I want you to feel strong inside. Like another word for boundaries is being connected to your strength. When you're strong, like strong people have really clear boundaries. So when you're strong and clear and you let go, you stay open. Because you're not living in fear. There's just a sense of like, oh yeah, like I'm totally fine here. I'm totally fine. And so, I'm going to encourage you to research everything you can about good, healthy boundaries. And sometimes, when we learn something like boundaries, it's just like reading a book on, psychological boundaries and just implementing them. It's okay, like this is what good boundaries are. So I'm just going to model that, or I'm going to mimic it. I'm going to imitate it. I'm going to learn that. And what that does is, for the parts of yourself that don't feel safe, what you'll find is, through implementing boundaries, your body, your psyche will feel safe, and then it will relax, and then you won't feel overwhelmed. And then when you open up again, you'll feel relaxed and not overwhelmed. You'll feel trusting and strong. So I invite you to play with this. Okay, fair enough. Was there something else there?
Yeah, there is something else. Like, I mean, what you say is pretty much matching what I've known. What was the reason for the downfall? Because like 1.5 years of, it was like, I felt like I was individuated like never before, and I was crystal clear. And that was the great paradox. I felt like so differentiated and strong and clear in my field that exactly that what you said happened. And then I kind of fell back. And like I'm struggling, like there's so much anxiety and so much confusion. But then when I go a step higher, I feel tremendous rage. And
okay, good. So let's just talk.
I have a hard time coping with or handling anger, because I have been anger repressed, not most of my life, but for a huge part of my life, because it was somehow not allowed. And like I experienced it in the mirror of other people that were very angry at me, and I was the terrified little child.
Okay, so again, let's talk about this. So so you're bringing forth a couple things. So when you start to have boundaries, you'll begin to feel safe in your body. Now, unfortunately, like you're showing us, like, being human is more complicated than, you just learn boundaries and then you can open up nicely, like I was describing a couple minutes ago. And so thank you. So you're going to add some nuance here. So what you're communicating is very true. So let's start again from the beginning. So let's say we have no boundaries and where our life's a mess. So we go out, we learn boundaries, and we get a sense of like how to drive this car. And once we get comfortable driving the car, there's something that happens in our psyche. Is our psyche says, okay, you figured something out. You feel a little bit safe. And because you feel a little bit safe, I'm going to begin to release some more unconscious energy for you to learn to work with. And this is the force of evolution. So anytime you grow spiritually, most spiritual people, most humans think that, oh, I just keep opening and it gets nicer and kinder and sweeter and my life is more together and figured out. But when we wake up, often our life gets more messy. So the more we evolve, the more messiness arises out of our unconsciousness. That's actually a sign you're doing something right. So the more you grow spiritually, the more crazy, wild, repressed energies will unravel, release from your unconscious psyche. So that's true. And that creates some confusion, because then the ego says, well, I just had it figured out for a little bit. And now I feel overwhelmed again. And this isn't fair. This isn't right. This isn't what should be happening. It should just be like that one spiritual teacher said just a minute ago, it'll just get better and better. And it's like, no, is when we grow in consciousness and grow in strength, our unconscious says, okay, you can handle more, so I'm going to release more. So that's true. And so then you have to grow in consciousness and strength to face what's coming forward from your unconsciousness. So life is inviting you to grow further. And again, the ego will say, I can't do it, I can't handle it, it's too much. And it is true, it's too much for the ego and the psyche, but it's not too much for true nature. And so true nature is inviting you to find what's real, to reach within and find the strength to face what's here, to face what's here. And so you're going to be pushed and you're going to be challenged more so than you have been in the past. But the good news is there's something true in you that's big enough to handle this. And you haven't exactly found that just yet. And so you have to keep looking within and find a place of sanity and not believe the voice in your head that says, I cannot handle this. You need to handle it, not from ego, but from truth. But from truth. That's the challenge here. That's the challenge here. And so I'd like to say that, it gets easier and easier and easier. Sometimes it gets harder, and then you grow in strength. And then it gets harder, and you grow in strength and awareness. And then it gets harder, and then you grow in strength and light and awareness and love and compassion. And then it starts getting easier. But sometimes it gets harder first, especially if we've had a lot of pain. And so this is your challenge, that you must not give up hope. You must not give up faith. You must reach within and keep finding that which is greater. The light is always greater than the darkness. And so you have a choice to believe in the truth or to believe in the egoic reality, which is, I'm not enough. Okay. All right. Well, so nice to be with every one of you tonight. I do hope you can make it on the retreat, April 6th. I want to thank you for all your donations and your support and your generosity. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Much love to each of you. Good night, everyone.